Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm so excited for today. We're going to give everyone a moment to hop on, and we're going to get started shortly. Awesome. So I'm so excited for this event. I've been working on my slides like forever. They look really good, but basically, I was inspired to do this class because some of you might recall, because I've shared it a few times. Um, I was interviewing some stylists. I had like this 15-question interview sheet that basically was interviewing stylists to see what they wanted to learn. I really wanted some research for my next project. It's like, they say if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. I was really trying to see what the people wanted because I always talk about pricing. I've been teaching pricing for 5 years now, consultation, all of these things. And I wanted to do some interviews. And I did these interviews. There were like 15 questions. And basically, it was like, what are your biggest struggles as a stylist? And for those of you joining in who aren't hairstylists, don't worry. This class is for all business owners. It's going to be great. So I was asking them about 15 questions. And in almost every single interview, I interviewed almost 100 people. In every single interview, a majority of the challenges surrounded boundaries. And I'll share with you all a little bit about my story, but I have been struggling with boundaries my whole life. I grew up in a dysfunctional family. I love my family, but I grew up in a dysfunctional family. I have had many traumas in my life that led me to struggle with boundaries. I basically had no boundaries. And that's an interesting way to live. And over the last year and a half, I've been really trying to get my life together. I turned 30 last week, and it's been a journey over the past few years, months. It's been a pretty recent transformation, but I've learned that boundaries are key and boundaries are a huge reason why we struggle with the same problems over and over and over again. So I'm really excited for today. I hope that you all love this class. My goal today is to help you with your boundaries. So let me go ahead. We have got so many people on, so that is great. Thank you guys for writing in the chat box. We're going to be using the chat box today, and we're also going to be using the Q&A feature. So if you look at your screen, you should have an option for Q&A, and you are totally able to ask a question. I'm going to do the Q&A towards the end of our session. That way I can make sure if we cover it, I don't repeat myself, and so I can stay on track because I love Q&A and I will just go off on a tangent. But I have a beautiful presentation planned for you. I think that it'll take just about the entire time that we have together to get through the presentation, do some questions. But if you do have questions, feel free to write them in the Q&A segment and feel free to connect with each other in the chat box. There will be times where I ask you all to write in the chat box, and basically this is going to be a way that we can all help each other. So there might be a time where I say, okay, take a minute and write down a few things you'd like to change here. I want you guys to write on notebook if you want, but also in the chat box, because maybe somebody in Alberta or Bloomfield or San Antonio or South Carolina or New York City, somebody might need to work on what you share. So if you share it in the chat box, you might inspire a whole new journey for someone. So please use the chat box, especially when I ask you guys to, because then we can all learn together. Just because it's virtual does not mean we can't all be together. You guys will all have access to this seminar for over 24 hours. I know I said 24-hour access. You guys will have access to it for probably 48 to 72 hours. I have to edit and upload it, and then you will receive an email that has all of the information for you to just log in, view it, do the thing, and then you'll have the option to get it for 30 days. The reason I didn't do a lifetime access, the reason I didn't do a longer entry to it is because this is my first time teaching the class, and it's brand new information and I don't want it out all over the internet. I wanted to do this class for you guys and then be able to make it better, to share it in my 2021 tour, to be able to add it to Mastermind, to really kind of perfect it. It's amazing, but I didn't want to make it like a permanent course because I wanted to try it out first. And I know you guys will like it. And the price also reflects that it's my first time teaching it. And it also reflects elevating the industry. Like, I really want to make this accessible. So thank you guys all for being here. Beautiful. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Beautiful. All right. So let me go into play. Beautiful. Okay. So we're going to get started. Thank you all so much again for being here today. So this course is called Boundaries in Business. Welcome, everybody. My name is Gina Bianca. I am a color specialist, a salon owner at the Network Salon, two-time salon owner. I did own an employee-based salon called Gina Bianca Hair for about 5 years. So I've been a business owner for almost a decade, but I've been running my own business behind the chair for many years as well. And I have a very great business education that I got through many different places. And most importantly, the experience. So, having experience in the trenches, I believe that the experts today are not learning about things in a book. They're learning about it in the trenches. And I have a ton of experience. And if you know me, if you follow me, if you've engaged with me, you know that I pretty much can come up with some kind of answer for anything because I've seen a lot and I do understand the perspective of a business owner and an employee. And I try to bring that wisdom to all of my education. I'm a hair and business educator. I'm a color specialist and color correction specialist. So I've been teaching for a really long time. More recently, over the past 5 years, I've been really honing in and focusing on business because it does help me make that bigger impact. I'm a life and business coach. I am getting certified in strategic intervention coaching. And the reason I say I'm getting certified is because I could take my test, but I really want to just take the course over and over and over. It's a 100-hour coaching course through Tony Robbins and Chloe Madonna's. And I can say I'm certified, but I really just want to continue being a student. I'm also being certified in September for a different kind of life coaching. I'm really into helping people get their transformation. Technically, you don't need a license or a certification to be a life coach. So I don't know why I harp so much on certified, blah, 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 blah. Basically, I like helping people get the transformation. And I'm a committed lifelong student to help people do that. I'm an industry leader and mentor. Some people say influencer to describe themselves. I would really like to describe myself as a role model. I want to be something that people can look up to. So that is something that I strive for every single day. My mission is to elevate the beauty industry. Let me go back to my beautiful PowerPoint. Okay, whatever. My mission is to elevate the beauty industry. Thank you guys. Thank you all. So, my transformation. So, why am I qualified to share this information with you? So, basically, what led me to do those interviews with people, the stylist interviews, what led me to do that was I was trying to figure out my next project, my next course, my next thing that I wanted to teach. And I signed up for a coaching program. And the teacher in the program said, the transformation you should be teaching is the transformation you have gone through. And I was like, wow, okay, so what have I gone through? There's a lot of things in my life I've gone through that I could teach, but the transformation I want to teach with you today, I went from being burnt out, resentful, and wanting to literally say F everyone. I like literally could not stand anybody. I was so burnt out as a business owner. Anything that ever happened, I always took it the worst way possible. I had so much resentment and so much anger because I was putting myself completely last and I wasn't getting the results I wanted from not only my employees or my people or anything like that. I just wasn't getting the result from life that I wanted. And then I went from that to accepting my limits as a human, living my life in consultation and asking for help and putting myself first. So I went from feeling like crap to feeling a lot better, more hopeful, grateful, and relaxed. I think that a lot of us want to feel more present. We want to feel happier. We don't want to feel burnt out, exhausted, and upset. A lot of us struggle with that. And I talk to salon owners and business owners every single day, and I can hear it in their voice. I can hear it when they speak about certain things. I could hear their voice crack, their throat clench up. I could see it in their body language. They're not okay. I see it every single day, and I'm passionate about helping people get to that transformation. So, something that I want to share also, I'm a human being. I'm not perfect and I'm not an expert at everything. Okay. All I have to share with you all is my story, my experience. And boundaries are a really tough and complex topic. They're very different for everybody, they're difficult for everybody. And if you need more help on this, I highly recommend finding a professional. A therapist would be amazing. I think everybody should have a therapist. If you're not into that, I don't want to upset you, but I really think that it's a great thing is to be able to talk about your feelings in an open space. So I highly recommend finding a therapist in your area. And I recommend any therapist who's certified by the Meadows Behavioral Health in Wickenburg, Arizona. In your course content, I have notes and links and everything. After this course is done, I just have to upload it into the course content and send it to you. I already prepped the course. It has a beautiful info page and resource page, so everything is there for you all. When you go ahead and log in, you'll be able to see all of that information and all of those resources. So I would recommend calling the Meadows and say, hey, I'm looking for a Meadows certified therapist. They're amazing. And I'm really grateful for my therapist. So, what's in it for you today? What to expect from our time together? We are going to be taking breaks. I know it's a longer course, but we will take some breaks. Today, my goal is to help you respect yourself and others by setting some boundaries. We are going to cover what are boundaries, what are some boundaries in business that we often struggle with, how can we strengthen our boundaries, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A. So let's get started. What are boundaries? Now, some of us might throw this word around or see it thrown around, but we don't really know what boundaries are. What the hell are boundaries? So, what I'd like to share with you first is a day without boundaries. And I'd love to share, and I jotted some notes down of me in the past without boundaries. So, a day without boundaries, you wake up late, not getting enough sleep, putting work or others before your own needs. You have no morning routine. You get up, you roll out of bed, you don't take care of yourself. Maybe you don't even shower in the morning. Maybe you don't even brush your teeth in the morning. You get up, you rush to work, you get the iced coffee with all the sugar and shit in it, and you get to work. You've got someone booked in between all of your appointments, or you're answering the phone for everybody's emergency. They didn't plan, but it's an emergency. So you're taking care of everybody's problems. You leave work late, you spend no time with your family, you're not eating properly, you're living on coffee or junk, or if you're eating complete crap. During family time, you're on your phone, addicted, not present, worrying about work, stressed about work. Nobody can solve your problems because you have the biggest problems in the room. Nobody understands. You have little connection to everybody because you're in your own universe. spending too much time answering DMs or dealing with clients or dealing with appointments or on your phone or just simply numbing out, feeling disconnected from your family. Now they're mad with you. You have trouble sleeping. You go to bed on your phone or your laptop feeling like you got nothing done. How many can relate to feeling like I got nothing done? You worked harder than you ever work, but you still go to bed thinking I'm not enough or I didn't do enough, right? It is such a common thing, especially for business owners. And I'm assuming most of you all are business owners, whether you run your business behind the chair, whether you own a coffee shop, whether you own a yoga studio, whatever it is that you do as a business owner, we put our business before ourselves. The business becomes like part of our body, like our arm, where, like, if something happens to the business, it's like chopping your arm off. That's how enmeshed and attached to our business that we can get, right? That was me. Okay. My fiance, poor Steve, I always say poor Steve, how he deals with me, but literally living on my phone. And I remember, like, when I kind of stopped being on my phone a lot, and we're going to talk a lot about your cell phone today. I remember, like, giving him a problem about his phone. And he's like, I've been so used to you always being on it that now I'm always on it. And it's like a rejection to our family and to our closest loved ones to not be present when we're with them. So, feelings brought up by a lack of boundaries: anger, resentment, sadness, depression, anxiety, not enough time, low self worth, low self esteem, dependency, walls, masks, fear, strained relationships, and at work, and so much more. Right? There are just so many things brought up by these situations. So, why bother setting boundaries? So, there are a lot of benefits of boundary setting. We'll have higher self esteem, more positive emotions, less negative emotions, conserve emotional energy. How many of us feel completely freaking drained? Like you have no energy for people. When it comes to spending time with friends and family or being social, you're like, absolutely not. I cannot give any more to anybody. And it's like, whoa, no one's asking you to give anything, but it's all of your emotional energy is gone. You have nothing left to give. That is a sign of lacking boundaries. More independence, deeper connection to yourself, deeper connection to others, growing as a human, better relationships, avoiding burnout, leading by example. That's a huge, amazing thing. And for some of us, we have to meet our needs for contribution and giving back and giving beyond ourselves, leading by example and being a beacon of hope for people. Sometimes we wish our family would change. Like for me, all I ever wanted was for my family to change, but I can't control other people's lives. I have to lead by example and live my own life and not be codependent and not be trying to force people to change or force people to do the things I think they should be doing. No, you can lead by example. That's all you can do, right? We can make an impact. We can respect ourselves. We could respect others, love ourselves, and love others. A lot of benefits for boundary setting. So, number three, personal boundary system. So, what are boundaries? This gets more into the definition of what are boundaries, right? And this is all sourced from Pia Melody. She is a teacher and therapist at the Meadows. And the Meadows is a treatment facility in Wickenburg, Arizona. That is where I went for 6 weeks. I actually checked myself in because I was completely burnt out and not okay. Not going to go crazy far into it, but I needed to take a break. I was mentally not okay. I was completely burnt out, and my business was struggling very hard with COVID. I'm not going to get too far into it because I know everybody's has issues, but I needed a break. And if you had told me a year ago that I would take 6 weeks off, I would have told you absolutely not. You're crazy. It was the best thing that I ever did. So Pia Melody, her work is the foundation of the work that I have been doing. I'd love to share with you from Pia Melody what this information is. And there's more resources in your course content. So basically, a personal boundary system is an internal mechanism that both protects as well as contains an individual's body, mind, emotions, and behavior. So basically, it helps us not hurt others and it helps us not be hurt. Okay, so it contains us and it protects us. This is our personal boundary system. It's a system within us that we must be mindful of, or else it will not be there. Boundaries are an outcome. You're either going to have them or you're not, right? So it's better to be mindful of them than not pay attention to them at all. And the fact that you're here on this course, super amazing for you all that you're here taking the time to work on yourselves. This isn't a hair course. This isn't a business course. This is a life course more than anything. And it will help you in your business and in your life, promise. So it serves three purposes, your personal boundary system: to help an individual protect themselves from being victimized, to prevent an individual from being an offender, and to give an individual a sense of self. Okay. Boundaries really help accentuate your values, and your values are protected by your boundaries, right? Or amplified by your boundaries. What you are willing to allow to happen or not allow to happen directly affect your value system, directly affect your boundaries. It all works together. So there are two kinds of boundaries. There are internal boundaries and external boundaries. And an exercise that I did when I was in treatment at the Meadows was it was a visualization when they were teaching us about internal boundaries, and the way that they described internal boundaries. They had us sit there and close your eyes and you imagine protection around your heart. And the way that I imagined it was as like this very slim piece of armor, like a bulletproof silver armor with etchings into it or something. I had like this very intricate design in my head, but it was basically protecting my heart. And I want you guys to visual your internal boundaries as protection of your heart. It is your thinking, your feelings, and your behavior. So, an example could be if you walk by me at the salon and you say, "Hey, Gina," and I don't say anything. Maybe I didn't hear you, or maybe I'm not okay, or maybe maybe I didn't hear you, right? This is just a very basic example, right? Maybe I just didn't hear you, right? Internal boundaries would be, oh, she must not have heard me, or oh, maybe she just needs a minute. Maybe she's got a thing in her ear. You're just like, whatever. Having poor internal boundaries would be like, Gina's mad at me. Gina hates me. What the hell? And jumping to like the worst conclusions because you see things from a filter of trauma, or you see things from a filter of like it must be bad or it must be negative to me. So internal boundaries are super strong. It's how you think, it's your feelings, and being able to express your feelings and manage your feelings and your behaviors. External boundaries, and if you visualize it and think of it as like a bubble around you that protects you and helps you from going into someone else's boundaries, this is your physical space, your touch, and your consent. And this is all from Pia Melody. There's an incredible book she has called Facing Codependence. It really breaks down a lot of this deeper. I have the book highlighted in a billion places, and I probably will read it 50 times in my life. It's a very good book. Highly recommend. I put it in your course content. So because there are boundaries, there are ways we can violate boundaries, or boundaries of ours can be violated. So some internal boundary violations could be yelling and screaming, name calling, ridiculing, lying, breaking a commitment, patronizing, telling others who they should be, telling others what they should do, negative control, being sarcastic, shaming a person. As a business owner, these are some things we want to be incredibly mindful of with our clients and with our employees, especially with our employees. I really would like to highlight one of these: sarcasm. Sometimes being sarcastic is funny, but sarcasm actually comes from a Greek word that means tearing at the flesh. It's not kind. And sometimes we could be sarcastic and funny. And I get that. I'm sarcastic and funny sometimes, but there are boundaries with it. Okay. And it's better to be kind than to be sarcastic because it can really violate somebody else's boundaries. Yelling and screaming, name calling, lying, ridiculing, telling others who they should be. These are all things that can really break down culture and that can really, really upset people. So, just something to be mindful of. Something else I'd like to share, one of the internal boundary violations was telling others what they should do. Today, especially with Clubhouse, especially with like all of these forums where everybody is spewing advice, I think it's really awesome to talk about talking boundaries because before, and this is something I'm mindfully working on every single day, is trying to say, like, okay, if I have advice, I'm not just going to shove my advice down your throat if you didn't ask for it. And I think it's boundaryless to give advice when nobody asked. Okay. And it's something to just be mindful of. So, like for me, and something I've learned is asking the question, are you open for advice? Are you open for feedback? Are you open for a question? Instead of just saying, like, hey, blah, 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 like asking a question or like, it, it can get to be a lot, especially in today's day and age. Everybody has an opinion, you know, as a leader, if you have a team member who's struggling, sharing with them 100 different ways they can improve if they're not open can be really overwhelming. There's a time and a place for everything. And I think that it's really important in cultures to encourage your team to say no. It's really important to say yes and be a visionary and take opportunities. Yes, yes, yes. Love all of that. But I would have a lot of respect for my team if they shared, like, I'm not open for feedback right now, or like, can we talk about this later? Right. And just giving some kind of boundary. And I know for business owners, that can be, wait, what? But letting go of a little bit of control and like thinking about how other people feel is really important. Try asking, are you open before offering advice, criticism, or opinion? Especially like on these forums like Clubhouse. Like sometimes, if you've never been on Clubhouse, this might not, it's basically like a forum where people can talk to each other, and sometimes someone will share. And in my rooms, basically, I am the person giving advice. I am the person who's hosting the room. And if people are on the stage sharing and someone asks a question and somebody just jumps in and offers advice, it irritates me because that person who asked does not know you, doesn't know anything about you. And they're asking me because they know me or know about me or know my context. They don't have any context from you. So it would be better if they said, hey, Gina, may I share something? My name is blah, blah, blah. This is what I do. I have a solution. I struggle with this. I had a solution for this. Sally, are you open for feedback? Instead of just jumping in and like shoving information down somebody's throat, it's just a kind boundary. Are you open? And guess what? If somebody says no, you have to learn your internal boundaries and not take it personal. If somebody says no to you, you have to not take it personal, right? So it's really working on all of those boundaries. So, external boundary violation, this is also from Pia Melody, could be standing too close to a person without consent, touching a person without consent, going through a person's belongings without consent. This is like if we all work together in a salon and you go through my drawer and use my things without my consent, not allowing a person their own privacy, violating another person's privacy. Other common boundary violations from my experience working with business owners: taking on another person's problems. So, say somebody has a problem and you take it on as your own. Taking things too personally. We were talking about that earlier. Believing a mistake is related to low self worth. So, say I do somebody's hair, they don't like it, and I say, oh, that's because I suck at doing hair. That is a really intense internal boundary violation on yourself. Okay. Any product, if someone doesn't like their coffee, it's like, well, I guess I suck at making coffee, right? It's not related to that. Not everything is going to be perfect all the time. Feeling offended by another person's boundaries. This is super boundaryless. If somebody sets a boundary with you, if they say no to you, and you're offended, you have to stop taking things personal. Taking on another person's energy, shaming yourself. Other boundary violations: reading a client's text and taking it the worst way possible. I see this all the time. I am so guilty of this. My fiance, Steve, is just like, why do you take everything in the worst way possible? And I'm just like, I need to stop doing that. Like, he calls me out on it so much because I do have a filter of like fear, anxiety, and stress at times because I have gone through a lot in my life. So once I take in information, my brain processes it based on what has happened to me in my life because that's all my brain can associate it with. I have lessons and things I learned from others, but my brain is wired to protect me. So if I get information, my brain will process it and I have to check myself and be like, okay, am I taking this the wrong way? A lot of the time we are. A client could send us a text and it could be like, hey, I have to reschedule my appointment. And then we can take it as, hey, I have to reschedule my appointment. Or like in a weird way. Our brain just reads everything in ways that are from the past. So it's really important to not take things so personal. If you've ever read the Four Agreements, I'm going to add this to your I'm going to just take a couple notes just to make sure I can add everything to your course content. The Four Agreements is an incredible book, and it's four agreements to a better life. Number one is like, don't take things personal. There's be honorable with your word, always do your best, and don't make assumptions. These are four major keys of life. Don't take things personal is a huge boundary one because if you're taking everything to heart, you need to protect your heart. Envision that armor again, right? If a client doesn't like their product, letting it ruin your day, week, month, year, letting things get to your head, taking things so personal. Another boundary violation: answering DMs outside of business hours and then being irritated about it. You don't have boundaries with your schedule, so everybody else is the problem. This is a common one. I'm like this. I'll answer my DMs at 3 in the morning and be like, why are they DMing me at 3 in the morning? Well, newsflash, because they think you'll respond. We'll talk more about that later. Coming in early or late for a client, but putting your own needs last. Super common. Setting boundaries is a profound act of self love. Setting boundaries is a profound act of self love. By setting boundaries, we are taking ownership of our needs, wants, and feelings. It is a profound act of self love. However, by putting our needs, wants, and feelings first, sometimes it feels like we're neglecting the needs of others. So, this is really common. By putting yourself first, we feel selfish. Setting boundaries does not mean you don't care about another person's problems. It means you are not the sole person responsible for those problems. If you take on everybody's problems like your own, you're going to find yourself burnt out, resentful, anxious, and pissed. Setting boundaries is an act of kindness. It's not selfish. It's not mean. The selfish myth. So there are many myths about setting boundaries, such as being bossy, being a bitch, or being selfish. It's not true. To love others, we must first love ourselves. You have to put yourself first, or else all of the things you're wanting to do for others, you won't be able to achieve without wanting something in return. That is like the most annoying thing. That was the most annoying thing about myself, I think, when I was at the worst of my resentfulness and my burnt out, horrible, ugh, that part of my life. Like, I think about it, I would do things specifically looking for a specific outcome. So I might be really, really nice to you, but that's because I wanted you to do something. It was super manipulative, and it was just how I was wired because I had no time for myself. I was so used to being burnt, and it was just not true kindness. And I'm so glad to not be there. It's like, if that's you right now, just know there's a way out, and it starts by setting some boundaries. To love others, we must first love ourselves. Setting boundaries is a profound act of self love. Boundaries do not hurt others. This is really, really, really important. When a request for healthy boundaries causes hurt, It is the relationship that is to blame, not the boundaries. Okay. So, some boundaryless, controlling people will not appreciate you in their life without your total compliance. So, you might have some controlling people in your life who are used to you being in the position that you are in. And when you decide, I'm not going to be in this position anymore, they may be very upset with you. That is their problem and not yours. Okay. So there are going to be some people who don't like your boundaries, some clients who don't like your new schedule. That is their problem. It's not yours. Okay. Setting boundaries is like building a muscle. First, it can be difficult, but your muscle will grow stronger over time. Saying no is so scary, and then it becomes fun. Okay. It does. I know that sounds crazy, but it's so true. This is a great book. It's called Boundaries from Dr. Henry Cloud. This is a blank. So I don't know if you have ever heard of blanks. I'll put that on here. Blanks. So blanks are basically books that have been condensed to 15 minutes or a 10-minute read or something. So there's audio and written, but it takes nonfiction business books and it condenses them down to 15 minutes so that you can really read a book a day or multiple books a day, listen to or read. And they're really great for time management. So I just wanted to share that because it says 15-minute read. This is actually a longer actual book, but I got this on Blinks. So here's an example. Let's say you take ownership of your time by declining to babysit for your friend every week. He gets upset and stops talking to you. Have you hurt him? No. He's being unreasonable. If this unreasonable behavior is a pattern, then your relationship is predicated on total compliance. If the relationship cannot survive with boundaries, then it's not worth keeping it alive. If the relationship can't survive with boundaries, then it's not worth keeping alive. I've had to set some pretty difficult boundaries over the last year. And I had these moments of like, this person is going to die if I don't continue to be their doormat. I literally thought they would die or something. Like my brain was so afraid of losing them, but I really needed to realize like if I'm going to lose them over me taking care of myself, then that relationship is not worth keeping alive. Think about that when your client is upset with your schedule or something, right? Or your pricing, or that you can't answer their text right away. We're going to talk more about that later. So my friend Nina Kovner from Passion Squared has this awesome boundary book. And I had like 10 more slides, but I deleted them because there's so many slides on this. I was like, I don't think I'm going to get to all these. So I condensed it down. I had like a list of all kinds of people. So it's like the compliant, the doormat, the this, whatever. And I wanted to just condense it with Nina's book and recommend it to you guys, to you all. And if you know me from this morning, I've been working on my pronouns and not saying guys. So I'm sorry about that, everybody. Nina's book, My Awesome AF Boundary Book, will be in your course content as a resource. There's a fee to download it, but it's amazing. And how she describes boundaries is with emojis. So like no boundaries could be a little crazy. Healthy boundaries, you're happy and joyful. Walls means you struggle with your self-worth. And I've decided it's easier to put up walls, shut people out than to have healthy conversations in relationships. So, no boundaries. You put everyone's needs ahead of your own, no matter the situation or consequences, and TMI all over the place. You're likely resentful and blame others for your own choices. Healthy boundaries. You understand in order to stay happy, healthy, and safe, you engage in courageous conversations to protect your space, time, and energy. You respect other spaces, energies, and needs. Walls, you struggle with self worth. You've decided it's easier to put up walls and shut people out. I love this. Super simple. Did not need my 20 slides. Go get this book from Nina. She's amazing. All right. So let's take a quick break. And I just want to give you a minute to take that information in. And I'm going to go ahead and, oops. I'm going to go ahead and, okay, that's how I do that. I'm going to go ahead and check the chat box. And I'm just going to give everyone a minute to use the bathroom. I'm going to get some water really quick. Let's see. Great. Hope your audio is better. Sorry. I'm on hardwired Wi-Fi, so I'm not sure. I'm mentally exhausted. I can totally relate to this. Absolutely relatable. So drained and out of words. I feel attacked. Looking forward to reading the book. I love the 4 agreements. I love it. You put up walls and shut people out. That hit home. Yeah, I totally understand that. So, how will I get to see this again? I think you said email. So, just a reminder that you have access to this course. I said 24 hours, but since you guys are watching it live, I understand that sometimes things happen. You might not be able to get to it. So, I'm going to give it to you guys for 72 hours. It'll take me a couple of hours to get the course into the course content because I have a link that I will send you in your email, and you'll be able to log in and get access to the course. So just watch your email after. And if you don't receive an email, just send us a message at thenetworksalon@gmail.com. So just write this email down, thenetworksalon@gmail.com. And if you have any questions, you can totally reach out to us. But you're going to be getting an email from Gina Bianca Education, and it'll say log in to view your content. It'll say you've been granted an offer, log in to enjoy your content. And all you'll have to do is log in. It'll give you a username and password. You just log in. If you're already part of Mastermind, or if you have any of my courses, it's going to show up on your Kajabi app. So you can always download the Kajabi app, and it will be able to be viewed on your phone. So you'll have everything. It'll just take me a little while to take these recordings and edit them and put them into the course content. And you'll also have all the resources. Right. So let's see. Let me share my screen again. I'm going to be right back. I am just going to go ahead and get some water. I'll be right back.